Yasharaj decks where you get Yasharaj from your Barns, and then you pull your Yasharaj out of the deck. So you get, on turn 4, you play Barns, you get a 3-4, then a 1-1 Yasharaj, and then that pulls out a Yasharaj at a 10-10, and then the next turn it pulls out something bigger as well. It's like
minuscule odds, but that is game winning.
That is game winning, and to be honest, it's actually not that minuscule. You know,
it depends on how many minions you put in your deck, really.
If you have just 10 big minions, that's a 1 in 10. And then you also have a 1 in 10 chance or a 9 in 10 chance if you have all big minions to summon another big minion.
Here we go. Game number 1's getting underway with Kolento going to be starting out on Tempo Mage. Kolento's lineup, Mage, Hunter, Druid, Warrior, Shaman, has self-banned away his Shaman, so we won't be seeing that from Kolento this match. Janetzky has brought Druid, Shaman, Warlock, Warrior, and Hunter has self-banned away the Hunter. So we won't be seeing that one for the match. And so far, pretty standard-looking builds. It looks like Dragon Warrior with a Deathwing at the top end. We'll see what the rest of the top end is. Kolento bringing Tempo Mage with Water Elemental in it.
Yep. Water Elemental, when you're facing up against a Conquest self-ban strategy, a lot of times you need better ways to deal with the Warriors and the Shamans that you won't be able to ban away. So Water Elemental, I like that in this strategy. I don't like Water Elemental as an overall strategy in regular Conquest because you can usually ban away one of those classes to make it better. And I think being more spell heavy is better in the current iteration of Tempo Mage, but I definitely can't disagree with this choice to go Water Elemental this week.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. It's cool how the self-ban can influence little choices like that. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah. All right, well, Alex Shaw has his champion drawn, but probably just going to see a Frothing Berserker here.
Honestly, this doesn't look like a hard turn for Janetzky, but a lot is going on here.
Yeah.
You know, Frothing Berserker on curve, saving your coin. What's this coin really going to be used for? I mean, potential to just power out Twilight Guardian, but you're rolling to Kolento's turn 4 with Fireball. Is Alex Shaw's champion just too weak? Would you rather have the damage from hand? There's a ton that's happening this turn that Janetzky has to think about.
Yeah. Frothing Berserker, though, if you're thinking, well, if you turn 4 Fireballs, then I'm okay with that because then I'm just going to play a Twilight Guardian, and it's going to be harder for him to reach with other things. He might be worried about Frostbolt Ping. He might be worried about Spell Power plus an Arcane Blast. And there's Firelands Portal. Not a new card, but still a new card. We saw it a lot over the course of the Americas prelims over this past weekend. And I really liked how that card performed.
Yeah,
so.
It was just very strong. I mean, being able to launch 5 damage at either the player or at a minion, we saw both scenarios happen, where dealing 5 damage and getting a 5-drop was good.
Yeah.
We saw scenarios where players were playing Azure Drake going into a Druid's turn 7, and then having Firelands Portal to kill it with the Azure Drake and still get a 5-drop out of it. Like, it's such a fantastic way to answer the larger threats that Tempo Mage can experience. Janetzky's just going to choose to use the weaker cards with Alex Shaw's champion and the Fiery War Axe. Is frozen this turn, but I think I'd still like to see the Fiery War Axe developed here. And not that it's because it can attack next turn, but look at the way the next turns are panning out, which is looking like Twilight Guardian and Azure Drake on the horizon. Where are we finding time to fit in this Fiery War Axe if it's not played right now?
Just like you.
Yeah, very true. The 2 health might matter, but probably not in this matchup. This is sort of a tempo deck. It's a curve deck.
Good old Frothing Berserker.
Oh, here we go.
This is the way the animations happen in real time when you're against Frothing Berserkers. Every time you hit it with one missile, it gets angrier and angrier.
Yeah.
Kolento forced into a second Arcane Missile here.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. That is the worst case scenario for Kolento. I mean, a lot of damage put on Janetzky's face, but I think he's losing the Flamewaker here. That is a tough one to keep around under this circumstance.
Yeah, it did bring it to 1 health. At least it didn't miss a whole bunch and leave it at 2, because then he would be able to damage it even further with like Ravaging Ghoul, and push, I don't know, 1,000,000 damage roughly. But
roughly 1,000,000.
Yeah, it is at 1. So now Janetzky does have to make the decision whether to kill Flamewaker or go face, and Flamewaker just feels like it's too threatening. But the thing is, that's a Flamewaker that he otherwise just wouldn't have been able to answer from his hand without Ravaging Ghoul plus Execute. And so not a great target there for Kolento. Oh, but here we go.
Yeah, Firelands Portal. Rolling into the Firelands Portal here is super important too. The Sorcerer's Apprentice just did a magnificent
Leroy!
job. Oh my gosh, a Leroy Jenkins! Janetzky's at 7!
He's at 7. At least he didn't Finley early on and give up his armor. But now the decision to equip the Fire War Axe as opposed to armoring up means he's at 7 instead of 9. And Kolento's got some, he's got some gas still. He's got an arcane intellect. And Janetzky also has to find a way to deal with both of these minions while also developing his own tempo.
That is a problem. Imagine if Kolento had just like gone face there instead.
He'd be at 2.
Like just be like, I just know Leroy's coming.
I'm feeling it. Well, I just know Doomguard's coming.
I'll just trade with the Doomguard instead.
Yeah. There's actually quite a bit of 5-drops that are just so good, that are overstated because they have drawbacks. Earth Elemental.
It's the ones with charge that scare me.
Yeah.
Like Leroy, I mean, imagine playing against a mage and you're like, I'm safe from, he's only got 1 card draw, I'm even safe from Pyroblast here. Firelance Portal into Leroy. It's 13 damage with a hero power for 1 card.
Yeah. So it looks like Janetzky is going to go with this, and he's probably going to hit.
But I mean, what can happen? I don't think hitting can be afforded here. Wow,
okay.
Kolento rips the fireball. Game number 1 wrapped up quickly. So Janetzky, I don't think in this position could afford to play around Fireball and Frostbolt, but I think could afford to play around Frostbolt by building more tension here. Yep. The Twilight Guardian isn't going to kill by anything that isn't also killing you. And this also allows him to just go ahead and wait, save the Fiery War Axe for what looked like was going to be face damage at that point, maybe weak Mana Worms or Mirror Images, and then try to armor up afterwards. So he fades the Fireball there, there's some recovery potential, but if he had chosen to attack, fading Frostbolt and Fireball is what would have to happen at that point. So not attacking the Sorcerer's Apprentice there, I think, is superior to attacking it.
And once again, Firelance Portal just feels good, man.
Just, every time I see the card played, I'm impressed. That is a very, very strong card right now.
Especially 6 mana with Sorcerer's Apprentice. Coming out 1 turn earlier, it's actually a huge deal when you're considering, like, it's almost the difference between mid-game and late-game, sort of. Like, 7 mana is kind of where you get to the point where you're like, it's not really mid-game anymore. You start looking for that burn to finish the game, and Firelance Portal serves both purposes. So really like that. Kolento, quick one with Mage. He's got Hunter Druid Warrior left. Keep in mind his self-ban was Shaman, which is very rare to see. Shaman is usually the deck that is good in just about every situation. Yeah, and it's not like Janetzky has a weird lineup. He's just got the standard 4 decks, basically, Warrior, Warlock, Shaman, and Druid.
That tells me it might just be like a different build of Shaman. Like maybe he's playing sort of the Halaziel style build.
Sure, yeah.
With Elemental Destructions and Earth Elementals and sort of the bigger stuff there. Maybe some
Maelstrom Portals.
Kind of Maelstrom Portal, I definitely think is good. You know, looking at like Rosty's build from the weekend where he had 2 copies of Hex, 2 copies of Earth Elemental.
Yeah.
In the Shaman build, no Lava Bursts in there. Kolento, he's really hard, I think, to pinpoint him on a deck because he's willing to play the full range.
He'll play anything. Yes. I was actually wouldn't have been surprised if he brought Priest today, and not as just a deck to self-ban to get rid of it. You know,
an actual Priest deck actually play.
Yeah, he's been playing Priest a lot on his stream recently, and he's been playing Priest forever in competitive play.
Maybe that's why he's not bringing it.
Maybe that's why he's not bringing it. He's like, I'm bored of it.
Bored of losing.
Bored of losing. Yeah.
Of course, every time he's brought Priest to a tournament, he's like done fantastic with it. Here we go. Game 2. Looking like a pretty standard build of Druid for Kolento. Looking like Yogg and a very strong opening hand. Janetzky's operating on Zoo Warlock with Argent Horse Rider.
All right, so it looks like it might be a little bit more aggressive. Argent Horse Rider is a card that we sometimes see in like more the aggressive / board control versions that run. What is that card? Oh man, the 1/2 that buffs permanently 2. It's a 1/2.
That does what?
I can't remember it. Buffs a minion to +2 attack permanently.
Oh, Argent Lancer.
Yeah. Is that what it is? Lance Carrier. There you go.
Argent, I was like, Argent Lancer's definitely not right.
Why Argent Lancer.
Argent Lancer.
Lance Carrier. I don't know why I can remember the name of that. But it was seen for a while. It was the deck that, Zixo won Star Ladder with, but it didn't run Possessed Villagers. So
yeah, this is a build I have been seeing creep up a little bit where some of the Warlocks will tend to cut either Doomguard and Leroy from the build and opt for the 2 Argent Horse Rider, 2 Sea Giant build. And something that ends up happening is you play a little bit stronger to the board by having the Argent Horse Rider as your charge damage to activate Power Overwhelmings.
Yeah.
But you're a little bit more consistent, so Sea Giant is enabled just that much more. And it's hard to tell when it is and when it isn't right. And I think this is, again, sort of the product of everyone sticking to the standard Zoo list for so long that there's been a distinct lack of experimentation going on with Warlock in general.
Yeah, sure. All right, well, Innervate Fandral Living Roots is going to develop a Fandral +2/1/1s. Seems really good to deal with this board. It is weak to Power Overwhelming. But you sort of have to take risks in this matchup when you're playing against Zoo. And at the moment, Janetzky doesn't have a reliable way to answer. Oh,
that's
well,
a good one.
That
will require a full attack on the board to deal with Fandral from that Direwolf Alpha. So I don't know if Janetzky's got the eye on that one. You know, the Knife Juggler builds a lot of board tension here. Fandral's just so scary. Like, if you let Fandral live and your opponent's got Power of the Wild, you're going to look at your Zoo deck and go, why did I let this live?
Yeah. But
so probably wise to trade it off, but it's definitely he's in way worse shape than he would have been if it was just like a Living Roots by itself or like a Living Roots Wrath or just anything but Fandral, basically.
New card!
I love that card so much.
All right, well, some decent trades here.
Okay, so the buff across the board was meant to get the Blood Mage buffed as well. A lot of times in this situation, when people have Living Roots out, I see them Living Roots and give the guys +1/+1, and then trade one of the guys over, and then just be left with a 2/2. And I'm like, isn't it just better to trade both the trees and make a 3/2?
Yeah.
But here, it's leaving behind a 2/1, and he's getting
the buff on the
Blood Mage. So this is one of the kind of a rare spot actually where you just cast Power of the Wild for the buff when you have Living Roots out to trade into 2 health minions.
All right, well, this is one of the situations where Soulfire is probably going to be, oh, I might pick up in the Jogo's face. That means he can't deal with both of these minions. And it's probably just going to be better to trade it in the Blood Mage so he can't get value out of a spell-powered Wrath.
Well, I don't know if that's a real consideration, because you are giving up a card then, too. And so Kolento gets that little bit more information on turn 5.
Sure, yeah. But then again, he's probably just going to trade a Knife Juggler anyway and get the information. So we'll see. Picks a Wild Growth. That's not that good, but there's the Wrath.
Wow. Janetzky's turns have just been, they've all been forced is the problem. Everything kind of went wrong for Janetzky this game. Yeah. You know, Direwolf Alpha instead of the Power Overwhelming. Knife Juggler misses the 2 out of 3. This is what happens when you get funneled into these spots, though. It's going to be hard to really recover from it.
Yeah, and look, probably going to be a Wrath for 1 here, and which means Kolento's most likely going to forego development, which is actually pretty bad for Janetzky, because this Soulfire might get more awkward to use as this game progresses.
Well, not only that, but it's just got 1 power on the board. Like, how often does Zoo have 1 power on the board when their opponent's at 27 on turn 5? Like, yeah, it's not too often. And not only that, but now it's Soulfire and Doomguard in hand.
Yeah, so maybe a little more thought from Janetzky on that Dark Peddler pickup.
I would have taken Soulfire, for sure.
Yeah,
would have snap taken Soulfire. The other 2 options were very poor. Soulfire has an opportunity to get some real value. Kolento is just going to go ahead and play the 6-mana discounted Arcane Giant, and Janetzky is in a world of trouble right now. I'm thinking Peddler into Corruption might be the only way to win.
Yeah,
Like, the damage for the push is just not there right now.
Yeah, you have to take a risk here and go for the Dark Peddler, which means you're probably not going to develop very much. There also is Soulfire and 50-50 discard and go for a Doom card kill.
Like, sure, you're going face if the Soulfire lands and keeps Doomguard and you get to play Doomguard.
Yeah.
But you need to deal with this 8/8 and just kind of hope that Kolento doesn't have the gas afterwards. There's no corruption in sight.
Voidwalker, though, is not terrible because it might absorb 8 damage, is the thing.
Keeping a big minion isolated and putting taunts in the way is a real way for Zoo to recover this. But Janetzky's going to have to draw some heat if this is going to work. And Kolento just, I mean, that's all he's got in hand is more heat. Ancient of War is going to completely stop the buck right here.
Yeah.
And just look at Janetzky's body language here, like, oh my gosh, what is happening?
He's a sad boy, I believe is the correct term for it. But yeah, those are 2 big boys.
Yeah, those are really tough to deal with. I wonder if Druid running Arcane Giants all the time can be a way for Big Game Hunter to rotate back into some decks.
I mean, it might, but Arcane Giants don't come out that quickly. Like, BGH was in a lot of
BGH anymore.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yep, so is able to deal with the Ancient here and push. Leaving behind a 5/2 is a really big deal here, too, because that's a lot of power that can help chip away at that Arcane Giant. And Kolento, unless he draws another big taunt here. Oh, my gosh.
Well, that's another big taunt.
I think we're trading over the 5/2 here. Knife Juggler instead.
I like the Knife Juggler trade.
I think I like the Knife Juggler trade. Trading into the 5/2 feels really gross. Well, we can answer the second one now.
But that's your whole board.
That's the big problem here is that Kolento just had all the big boys.
Yeah.
When we got to the end game, and that's one of the ways that Druid wins is just the draw quality is incredibly high.
The one thing that's missing is the second Arcane Giant.
Cenarius, Yogg. There's not much missing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Not even a weak draw at this point.
No. Well, we'll see. Maybe Violet Teacher Nourish.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe I draw 3 cards to make an extra 1/1 here.
Kolento might feel like he just nourishes first.
No way.
I mean, it's just one extra 1/1. You can nourish first and then evaluate. Maybe pick up a better play.
Pay attention,
I'm taking my
class.
1/1 every time. Look at your opponent's board. Look at your life.
Yeah.
Free. That's a free 1/1.
Yeah.
Nourish will not remind us what it does. Interesting. Thank you, Nourish. Sticking around there. That's a bad looking one, but the rest, pretty much most of the cards in the deck at this point are pretty bad looking except for Sea Giant. But when your opponent has an 8/4 and you don't have 4 damage on board and you have an 8/8 as the only card in your hand, it looks pretty bad.
Yeah. And I think this will be close to lethal damage. It's 11 on
13,
board
14, 15,
with Feral
16,
Rage.
17, 18 points total. Yep, that's going to do it. Kolento, easy game number 2 for him.
Wow.
Yep, he's counting it, and counting it.
I am ready
There it
to
is.
learn.
Boop.
Janetzky just not really having a good time right now. This is quite brutal from his perspective.
How are you going to let me say there it is, and then also say whoop, and then not pick up there it is?
Well, you said there it is first.
Yeah, and then I gave you a whoop to the pass.
I thought you just did it backwards.
Yeah,
There it is. Whoop.
it's the inverse version of it.
Yeah. Well, Kolento is up 2-0. So Janetzky has got a long way to climb back. So far over the past couple of weeks, we haven't seen one of the open winners actually even make it to the second round. So definitely going to be a tough road for Janetzky. And we're going to have game 3 coming up in just a moment. Before we do that, we're going to have to go to a quick break. So we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We're about to jump into game number 3 of the first match of the day. It's Janetzky versus Kolento. And Kolento is on fire right now. He's up 2-0.
And with new cards at that, Firelands Portal game number 1, huge difference. Arcane Giant game number 2, game-winning card, basically. The second Ancient War he drew did seal the deal, but I would venture to say that even with a weak draw on that one, probably would have been able to walk away with a win.
Yeah, definitely. We talked about how the open tournament winners have been struggling. And if you think you can do better than them, we got open tournaments for weeks to come. If you guys want to sign up for the next open for King of the Hill, you can head over to esl.gg/KOTHHS if you guys want to sign up. There are limited spots, so make sure you get over there right now. The next tournament is happening at the end of this week. So it's a Swiss tournament as well, which I really like. Swiss is a little bit tougher to run. Sometimes it takes a bit longer to play, but it gives you so much experience, and a lot of times you get more consistent results across the board.
Yeah, Swiss is not only better for the players, I think it's better from a spectator perspective as well. I mean, seeing someone who fought through a field where if you lost round 1 and then you still end up with a better record than everyone else, that's okay. I mean,
that's okay.
You had your first loss in round 1 instead of round 7. It matters where you lose, but not to nearly as much of a degree as if you can just keep winning. At the end of the day, it is Hearthstone, and so losses are kind of a mandatory thing. The randomness is more apparent. There are definitely some variation with the draws. But Swiss is definitely a better format. Also, lots of weeks to come of the Hearthstone with the broadcast and also with Overwatch that takes place afterwards. So if you guys are interested in those games, throw a follow to the channel, twitch.tv/ESL.
Definitely. Or even
third new card for Kolento.
That's admirable.
Kindly Grandmother.
Kindly Grandmother. Probably going to be seeing a Barnes in this deck as well. Barnes.
The light protects me.
I really hope he draws Barnes, just because I just want to see what happens, honestly. This is so weird. Like, I played against Barnes the other day, and my opponent just got a Ragnaros, and I was like, oh, this is stupid. Then I watched someone on my friends list playing a game, and someone Barnesed into a Ragnaros against them, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, why do I think this is awesome when I see it, but I hate it so much when it happens to me?
I had a game yesterday where I was playing Rogue, and I had like an 11-11 concealed questing adventure, and he was at like 13 health, so I was guaranteed to win next turn effectively. It was like turn 7. I was like, oh, this game's easy. I had like all the cards I needed in my hand. I'm like, yeah. I was at 20 health. All of a sudden, on turn 7, he barns into a rag in deadly shots. And all of a sudden, I'm at 12. And like next turn, he has a barn and a rag. I have to dagger down his rag. He hits me with barns, like double quick shot into hero power, and I'm dead.
Well, Barnes has joined the hand for Kolento, who will decide that Huge Toad is stronger than Kindly Grandmother right now. I can't blame him for this either. If you look at the way the board state is, the Ardent Squire would be able to trade into either the Shield or the Kindly Grandmother to activate on Janetzky's terms. The Huge Toad helps contest the potential threat that's coming out from Janetzky here. It's really difficult for what Janetzky plays to not outright die to the Huge Toad. That allows him to roll into Kindly Grandmother, and then if that board gets checked, has Barnes for backup. If it doesn't get checked, has the Houndmaster instead. So great setup here from Kolento, recognizing that even though the Kindly Grandmother, I think, is a superior card to the Huge Toad, that in this particular situation, it's weaker.
Yeah. All right, well, Janetzky's just going to go ahead and get the Imp Gang boss out right away. This allows him to curve into Dark Peddler plus 1 drop when he's guaranteed to have something on the board. Oh, tracking. That's a great curve filler.
Well, not only that, but it's just getting information. So,
yeah.
Like, now look, the Abusive Sergeant and Firebat just got filtered out of the deck for Barnes at this point. So now Kolento's capacity to hit something big is increased from that tracking.
Oh, yeah.
Information is very powerful. And this, I would normally say this is kind of a tough choice, but staring down the Imp Gang boss, I'm going to believe that Abusive Sergeant just needs to be the pick here.
Yeah.
That card is so tough to deal with if it keeps going.
Especially with Kindly Grandmother. You might think Fiery Bat to give a little bit of a wider board, but Abusive Sergeant just seems like it's so much better.
It's answering it nicely. That's the important thing here. So spawn happens, then the death rattle. Favors returned. It's not quite as powerful on the miss from Kolento as it was when Janetzky missed the juggle, but still painful.
Yeah, it's going to get a free trade in and be able to probably just develop an Imp Gang boss again. Not really any reason to go for Dark Peddler. You can try and find a Mortal Coil.
Well, Mortal Coil, Elven Archer, those are both feeling pretty good. Imp Gang boss, look at what Kolento just did to answer Imp Gang boss, though. Why wouldn't this one be just as scary? Not only that, but you also have a Sea Giant in hand. So the ability to drop 3 now, go 2 more minions on turn 4, and then potentially Sea Giant on turn 5. It's looking like that's the game plan here. I mean, Sea Giant is the win condition for Janetzky right now.
Kolento. I'm staring at a win condition right now.
Oh, it's a little bit weaker when your opponent has an Imp Gang boss.
Not much weaker.
It's going to be hard to not play Barnes this turn. Stranglethorn Tiger in here as well, so a lot of stuff that's like not terribly powerful from Barnes in the build. That is the worst one.
That's the worst, yeah.
That's actually the worst one.
The thing is, that's what's great about Barnes, is you're not really giving up much. Because that Houndmaster is still in his deck. It's still 4/5 worth of stats for 4 mana.
Yeah, I feel like I gave up something when this happens.
It's like, oh, now I'm a Houndmaster, and then you realize, wait, I still have a Houndmaster.
Soulfire's a nice pickup. This is going to be a full clear for Janetzky, who is also going to have the board. So to me, this looks like risk discarding the Sea Giant in a 1 and 3 to get the Flame Imp alongside it. And with that much pressure on board, Kolento's going to be on defense, and Hunter does not necessarily do a very good job on defense.
No. They do a great job getting ahead early and then pushing a bunch of damage.
They turn the corner really quickly when they're ahead. That's the thing. I've seen a lot of Hunter play where a player gets ahead on board and they keep trying to stay ahead on board. I go, man, if you just push 8 this turn and then set that animal companion or whatever it's going to be, how does your opponent come back from this? So we're going to go with tournament attendee instead of the Soulfire. I don't really understand this at all. This just seems, I know he's trying to get the Sea Giant on board, but the Soulfire suddenly became a win condition with just the board you had out. Yeah. You don't have to enable the Sea Giant. Maybe playing for just a little bit more late game here, though. Like, fearing Unleash the Hounds with the Juggler, fearing just any sort of like a Misha roll into Explosive Trap. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could go wrong here. I'd be curious to hear the justification from Janetzky on going past the Soulfire there, though. It just seemed like a perfect turn. Well, that's also a very strong turn. This could have been what he envisioned, too, just seeing a 5-drop into Direwolf Alpha Sea Giant.
Yeah. Usually quite common. Unless that 5-drop is Stampeding Kodo, because then you don't have enough. Because you're trading in one, then you get one. You just have to play
in which case
Sea
it would just be Sea Giant, but I think that's still totally fair.
It seems like there's so many things to punish them, though. Unleash the Hounds is...
Okay, now just don't Teray this. Play the Sea Giant first.
Ouch. I like how that's become a verb already.
Well, I mean, you miss a Sea Giant.
A free Sea Giant.
It was, he actually just, I mean, his play went from Sea Giant, for Teray anyway, over the weekend. His play went from Sea Giant, trade, down the board, have an 8-8, to Life Tap.
Life Tap, play a 1-drop.
Kolento picks up Call of the Wild, but I think this sport's getting really out of hand.
I mean, maybe you just kindly grandmother and then Houndmaster that and push face with your Stranglethorn Tiger. You missed 2 damage.
I think it's definitely the best play here, but I think something's got to give on board. And the best play is these 2 cards from hand, but he's got to start trading. If he doesn't start trading, Janetzky's just going to get like infinite damage from the board, and that's probably just going to happen anyway. Like, Janetzky's turned the corner here as far as I'm concerned. I think we should see a push instead of a trade this turn. None of the trades look very favorable.
Except Flame Imp into the Stranglethorn Tiger.
Well, that changes things. Now your trades look massively favorable. So we're probably going to see the board get choked out here from Janetzky. I mean, once Hunter loses this board, they are not coming back.
Yeah. So probably just trade everything off. We'll be left with a Sea Giant, a 1/1,
And a Direwolf Alpha.
and then a Direwolf Alpha, and then probably just Forbidden Ritual. You didn't have Unleash now until that turn. Get in there for 2.
Don't worry, loves. The
I
cavalry.
didn't know the token looked that way.
Yeah.
Get in there and fight, maggot.
Still trades down. Saves the Direwolf Alpha, though, so wanting to save the Imp King boss, I guess? Nah, just not trade down. 8 to face. I'm okay with that, too. Either one, I think, pulled away with a win for here from Janetzky. Well, gosh, the draws in this game are just hot.
To my side.
To trade over the Imp King boss, unleash the Hounds, clear the board, roll in a Call of the Wild. That's now the plan for Kolento.
Yeah. Kind of Grandmother kind of scares me a little bit. Death Rattle's implying that they die. It's like kind of Grandmother is also implying that he's in a suit. So it's like, ha! You killed the outer me. It's very bizarre.
Extremely bizarre. Wow, Kolento actually might have turned this around. The Sea Giant's isolated, and there's a 4-1 on board. This is actually bad for Janetzky suddenly.
Yeah.
That Unleash the Hounds completely changed the game.
Yeah, and I mean, this play was actually stronger to Unleash the Hound than all the other plays that he had. So it's actually, he sort of played around it the best he could given what he had.
I think the full trade down was a lot stronger with the Direwolf Alpha.
Well, in that play, he would have either floated a mana or played Forbidden Ritual.
I think floating mana is fine. I don't think floating mana is relevant at all at this point.
Or floating 2 mana or
floating 2 mana I think is fine at this point. I mean, look at the board state.
All right, well, let's see.
With Kill Command drawn, I mean, I think this might be a full push. He doesn't have to worry about...
Full push is dead on board.
Is he dead on board?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's dead on board of the full push, so... I was thinking the power overwhelming. This is still really good for Janetzky, though. This also might have been the plan from Janetzky, too. It's just the experience in this matchup, knowing that Direwolf Alpha with Forbidden Ritual moving into the Call of the Wild turn is incredibly strong.
Yeah.
It's a nice pickup.
Tap can be quite dangerous in this position, but I think he realizes that he's going to win the following turn anyway. He can full trade off here.
Yeah, I think honestly Janetzky had this plan when I kind of see it, because it was very calm play, it was very quick play. I'm pretty sure this was calculated. And are we seeing a full trade down or not? Are we going to see a push for 2 with Voidwalker? Push for 2 for Voidwalker, set him at 8. That would present lethal on board. my curiosity is there any way he gets punished by leaving this Hound in play?
Double kill command. If you leave a beast up, double kill command and hero power still don't kill you.
Yeah, I think it's just push then.
Yeah.
Go for lethal next turn.
So he would need kill command into quick shot into kill command.
Well, not fiery bat.
No. So it looks like this is going to have to be a kill command onto the Darkshire Councilman and hope for another Call to Wild next turn.
This is what it's looking like. Also has to fade 2 damage here. Janetzky on some draws to win. Defender of Argus, Beast of Sergeant. There's one.
Defender of Argus.
Oh,
it's not quite.
No, it won't. You're right. That's only 1 damage because it moves the Direwolf Alpha away from an attacker.
Yeah, and he would have to... There's
That's
no way you can
awkward.
sequence it, yeah. So he can tap again, but that moves him to 9.
Like quick shot into quick shot into something.
It's still not enough. I don't think there's any sequence of draws that get it.
That's enough damage, I think. He buffs he flips the Voidwalker around.
Yeah,
that becomes
that's
4 attack. Boom! Look at Crazy Alchemist getting something done.
Yeah.
My shield for Argus.
Actually, with just a Crazed Alchemist, he had enough because it buffs it permanently. So it brings it to 4. It's a little bit of a weird interaction.
But hey, whatever way you get the job done, Janetzky gets a point on the board here, and that was desperately needed for Janetzky here. I mean, going down 3-0 in a best of 7 is so hard to come back from. Being down 2-0 is hard enough, but
You have to 4-0 a single deck.
yeah, this was a must-win game here, I think, for Janetzky.
There's not many classes in the current format that have favorable matchups against 4 different decks that are all popular. I'm thinking maybe Shaman if your opponent brings Aggro Shaman, if your opponent brings Rogue, Druid, Freeze Mage, and Priest.
Control Warrior.
I don't even know. Like that's not even,
I think Control Warrior is a little bit weak to Shaman.
Yeah.
Just because Doomhammer presents such a big problem. Like
unless you have weapon removal.
Like Dragon Warrior is like the deck that started crushing Shaman. That's one of the reasons it became so popular. Was it just beats Shaman so well.
Yeah.
You know, Shaman still gets those draws where you're like, oh well, can't handle that Totem Golem. But for the most part, that deck ends up mopping the floor with Shaman.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons it's been such a popular choice. But I'm not even sure the Druid versus Shaman is like that good. Even that's why Druid's so good. Druid just doesn't really have like a lot of good matches. Doesn't really have any bad ones, except for Rogue.
It's kind of how Druid has always been. I mean, aside from like a couple classes, I'm thinking like old Handlock against Druid. Well, like old Druid against Handlock.
Yeah, Druid was way favored in that one.
Yeah, but they didn't have or Control Warrior.
It was just the control matchups, because if we had Force Nature Savage Roar,
Yeah.
it was so hard to beat Force Nature Savage Roar as a control deck, because every single threat represented 14 plus X.
All right, well,
I'll tell you what, there is a way to win with Shaman against Dragon Warrior. We just talked about it. It is Totem Golems.
and sometimes not even then.
Sometimes not even then. Kolento, I don't think there's any way he's mulliganing this Blood to Ichor.
I might even full keep.
I think I do full keep this hand, actually.
Alex Strauss' champion is almost as good as a Fire War Axe in a lot of cases, sometimes better. Totem Golem is one of the ones that it's weaker to.
Here's the thing. He saw Janetzky keep 2 cards. This is so often going to be Tunnel Trog, Totem Golem. If that happens, coining Alex Strauss' champion into Blood to Ichor, attack the Totem Golem, can almost shut down the assault. And so when he sees the pass here, I think he's going to know this is probably 2 Totem Golems.
Oh no, you can't see mulligans anymore.
Did they change that finally?
Yeah.
Oh. When did that happen? I've been playing on my phone, so I haven't been able to pay attention.
Like a week and a half ago, I think.
Oh. Yeah, I've been traveling for like a week and a half now.
Yeah. I forgot about that. I remember players talking about
deal.
it. That is a big deal.
I'm going to go with the Priest here. Kolento is playing Priest after all.
Ha-ha!
It's not the hero power that's bad, it's the rest of the cards. Couple Blood to Ichors, Alex Strauss' champion. This is tough. Either way, this Totem Golem is going to be getting some reasonable value here. I'm curious if he ends up protecting Finley or if he goes just for the damage outright. Because Alex Strauss' champion into coin Blood to Ichor on the Totem Golem, attack face. If the Totem Golem attacks the Finley, then you just return kill with the Alex Strauss' champion. You get a 2-2 out. If you choose to do it right now, you get a 1-3 and a 2-2, but you miss 4 points damage. is a 1/3 more than 4 points damage. And that's kind of what Kolento's thinking about right now.
Yeah.
You also have to consider, like, if it's returned with Rock Biter or Lightning Bolt, and you can't kill it when it's up half.
For the life binder.
So for reducing options purposes, I'm guessing Kolento's going to trade. That's just what he does almost always, is try to keep his opponent from having options.
Yeah. Also, if your opponent has like Rock Biter weapon, you get really punished. They take extra damage, but
there's no way to not get punished by second Totem Golem. That's just going to happen.
yeah. But then there's no Totem Golems left in the deck.
Well,
Unless Tuskar Totemic.
I was going to say, well, we do have a Tuskar Totemic sitting in Janetzky's hand right now.
One of the ways you win this matchup is by getting 4 Totem Golems.
Now, this situation is a little bit different, where the second Totem Golem is not very easily answered, and your opponent killing any one of these doesn't necessarily mean that you can't kill the Totem Golem. This might be a situation where instead you see Blood to Acre, Fairy Dragon, and a little bit of a damage push. But again, you got to think about Feral Spirits. You've got to think about Tuskar Totemic. What happens if a healing totem pops out of it? There's a lot of things here that I think that still do spell a trade for Kolento. His turns are so hard.
Yeah. It's usually just safer to trade. I don't know if you win this matchup by pushing early damage.
Rather, it's much more conservative to trade.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's safer. I mean, pushing damage actually might be safer just because you can build a lead and actually kill your opponent. But it's conservative versus
not playing Hearthstone would be safer. Because then you'd never even have to worry about it.
Yeah, then he never would have won like that $100,000.
Yeah. No, not playing Hearthstone like today. They're just saying, nah.
I'm good.
Yeah. Safe play.
Yeah, Feral Spirits is, would have been brutal if he didn't kill that Totem Golem. Oh, that's not a good one.
Oh boy, Oberto. That is not a good sight for Kolento.
I think this game is about to snowball. Janetzky's got Tuskar Totemic to back this up. We're rolling the Thing from Below and a lot of burn in hand to check the threats that Kolento will eventually draw. And won't even play the Fairy Dragon here. Just gonna. This is smart from Kolento to not play the Fairy Dragon here. If he draws Blackwing Corruptor or Twilight Guardian, both of those look so much better versus the board position than if he plays Fairy Dragon and ends up losing it to a 2/1 Wolf. There's just no reason to play this here.
Really smart.
And Janetzky, I think, has to read this as a fairly strong hand from Kolento right now. Probably thinking like they play like Azure Drake.
Did you bring some fish?
Stoneclaw Totem can be okay in this matchup. We'll see what Kolento picks up. A Malkarok.
When you draw the 7/8/8 by turn 5, you're usually going to lose.
Janetzky is so confused. He's like,
well, now you look at it and you go, okay, so it's Draconid Crushers and bigger things.
And now, as Janetzky,
there's nothing to fear here from Janetzky.
Yeah, there's nothing that you even need to play around.
I wonder if he. Well, do you ever look at this and be like, does he have a ball?
Does he have what?
Does he have a ball? Like he's done nothing.
He's baiting me.
I mean, I'm not giving respect to Brawl here. Like, if someone's going to play Brawl in their Dragon deck, you got me.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to know the way to beat me in a game, don't AoE for one turn where it looks like it's pretty good, because I'm playing the rest of my hand.
Yep.
Afterwards. Like, oh, well, he's got to have it now.
All right, now we're looking at lethal, like, next turn.
Yeah, the draw from Kolento
Janetzky
just was not here to get the job done. Just was not in this game.
Yeah, now he can play Twilight Guardian and throw out the Fairy Dragon now that he doesn't really need the Dragon Synergy anymore, but just trades up against this are going to be so powerful.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. This is way over lethal. I mean, there's infinite damage here available for Janetzky.
Yep. 23, I think, if he makes the best trades.
24 is what I counted.
Oh, so he trades in the Stoneclaw Totem and the Feral Spirit.
Yep, and that's 8
Then
from
he
the
has
right side, 5 from the left side.
13, Lava Burst is, well, now they roll Spell Power, Lava Burst is 19.
I don't think that's, is that lethal? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It's still 21. It's 21 even with doing it this way, which buys you less damage. Yeah, Kolento's just going to scoop it up.
Yeah.
don't blame him for that one there either. The draw for Kolento, again, just wasn't there this game. But if you take a look at the way that kind of Janetzky's draw in Game 1 panned out, that was really what it was. I mean, it was a decent opening with Sue, but in the mid-game just did not have anything. No Dark Iron Dwarfs, no Defender of Argus, no Power Overwhelmings. Kolento had back-to-back Ancients of War.
Yeah.
This is kind of reminiscent of game number 1 almost, where it looked like Janetzky was in the game, but really just wasn't.
Yeah, really tough stuff. But now we got a series on our hands. It's tied up 2-2, and the last 2 games have gone very handily in Janetzky's way. So, really impressive stuff from him. Kolento still has to find a win with that Hunter in that Warrior deck. Hunter deck, though, I feel like is going to be pretty strong. I feel like Hunter got the best of week 2 with kind of Grandmother and Barnes being so strong in those decks, but we'll definitely have to see. Game number 5, guys, is going to come up in just a moment, but before we jump into that, we're going to have to go to a quick break, so don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to ESL's King of the Hill. We're getting close to being done for the first match of the day, at least for Hearthstone. Keep in mind, guys, we do have Overwatch coming up right after, so if you're a fan of both games or just esports in general, make sure you stay tuned throughout the entire day today as me and Admirable have some fun stuff to bring you. But back into the Kolento versus Janetzky match. We're all tied up 2-2.
And now, best of 3 at this point. Druid and Warrior left for Janetzky. We have seen his Warrior build. No, it's Dragon Warrior. Hunter from Kolento does have a copy of Barnes, is alongside 2 Abusive Sergeants, 2 Houndmasters, and what I'd imagine would be 2 Stranglethorn Tigers. Have yet to see the Warrior build, though. I'm sorry, no, we just saw the Warrior build. Yeah. I'm crazy. We literally just saw the Warrior build. Excuse me. I just had a weird... I saw the Warrior from Janetzky, and then here I was like, we haven't seen the Warrior build from... Oh, wait a minute. We literally just saw it.
Yeah, did.
Ignore that.
We didn't just see it. It's the Dragon Warrior.
I'm human.
And if you like to play Dragon Warrior as well, it's probably going to be pretty good in the open, which happens next week. And you can sign up at esl.gg/KOTHHS if you want to have your chance to have a shot at the King of the Hill tournament. If you win the tournament, you do get invited to the next week's King of the Hill broadcast. This week, it's Janetzky who won and qualified. Next week, it could be you, whatever your name is.
Yep, could have an opportunity to win that 500 buckaroos and return back for another shot at $500 more. Also, a lot of broadcasts coming up for it as well. Not only this game, but as TJ mentioned just a moment ago, with Overwatch as well. So if you like watching, throw a follow to the channel, twitch.tv/ESL. Plenty more weeks of King of the Hill to come.
There's like 7 more weeks, something like that.
It feels that way.
If you win every week from here on out for all the next weeks forward,
I think it's 2,500.
3,500.
Is it 7 more weeks?
Is it 5 more weeks or 7 more weeks?
I think it's 5 more weeks. There's 8 weeks, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of weeks.
8 or 10, something like that.
$2,500 for winning some matches is pretty good, especially because once you become the king the first time,
you show up and win 1 match a week.
That's the benefit of being king.
All right, 5 more weeks. We did get confirmation, so I was wrong. I got a little bit too excited.
TJ's doing King of the Hill every week for the rest of his life.
The producer's like, we didn't budget for TJ to be here for 8 more weeks. Tackle him, get him off the stage.
Fire that guy.
Yeah, 5 more weeks, but still 2,500 buckaroos could be yours if you sign up. But let's move into game number 5 here. And Kolento once again throwing out the Hunter. That's a Barnes in the opening hand.
Yeah, it's also an Nazos First Mate on Janetzky's side, and that's one of the cards I think that can swing this matchup more than just about anything. If that Nazos First Mate does not get picked off by the stats rattle, Janetzky is likely, I think, to smooth sail through this game.
Look at that hand.
It's so good.
It's a thing of beauty.
Fly, Polly.
I want a 30 Nazos First Mate brawl.
I didn't know that'd be good.
I think
whoever goes first wins because you get the first attack.
Oh, that's not how it works.
Pretty sure that's how it works.
That is not how it works. Does end up missing, but huge toad off the top. Nice. Oh my gosh. That is a huge draw for Janetzky right now.
But is it good right now? If you use coin this turn to get Blood to Ichor and a 2-drop out.
I don't think you coin this turn.
You just Blood to Ichor?
I think Blood to Ichor, and then the debate, I think, is between attacking with the Rusty Hook or attacking with the Nazos First Mate. If you decide to put yourself at 24 and the juggle goes favorably, you get to push a damage and you have 3 power on board. If it goes unfavorably, you end up risking too much. We're going to forego the Blood to Ichor and instead look towards being stronger against Animal Companion, it looks like, with Fairy Dragon, and then have Blood to Ichor for the backup here. I don't mind this either. I mean, just getting the value from from the Nizos first mate and then keeping more options that's a totally reasonable option.
Yeah. All right, coin Twilight Guardian.
Well, I mean, you do have to think about Deadly Shot there, but I think that coin Twilight Guardian is very strong versus Barnes. This allows the Rusty Hook to wipe out the Barnes thing that can get summoned, and then you have Blood to Ichor with the attack from the Twilight Guardian to answer the Barnes.
But what about whatever Barnes brings out?
Well, that's another story.
Well, you were talking about this during the break a little bit, is Kolento's Barnes doesn't even have that great of a chance to be that great.
That's pretty solid still. I mean, you got a free point of damage there.
He gets a juggle for himself,
Yeah, because the Battle Cry summons it.
and then his effect deals a juggle. Huh.
It's really weird. I know it looks that way, but it's like
Or maybe
he gets it from the Barnes is what he gets it from.
he gets it from the Barnes,
But
yeah.
it's like the Battle Cry happens before Barnes comes into play. The way that Barnes dies. It's like
Get it
singing.
together, Barnes.
Oh my God, Mr. Barnes! Wonder if Kolento's going to release the Hounds this time.
I wonder.
The Paladin Wonder is my favorite one. Like when you just decimate their board and then it goes into Uther's turn, he's like,
wonder.
and you just stare at him. I wonder. Barnes into Unleash the Hounds. This is very thematic.
It is.
So we'll trade down. Not much initiative though. The 2-1, and looking at a strong turn 6 though.
Well, potentially a strong turn 6, unless he doesn't really have too much to kill command. Depends if Janetzky decides to go for Azure Drake or...
He's going to have something to kill command, that's for sure.
Yeah. Whether it's a great target or a pretty good target is yet to be seen. But Azure Drake's going to be the play. And that Abusive Sergeant is going to get in there for 2.
Maybe 3, could see Leok.
To my side.
Oh, it's going to be 6 instead.
Yeah.
So Janetzky looking for Blood to Ichor or Second Ravaging Roll to handle this. That's a lot. I mean, that's just suddenly the damage got... Wow. Do you execute a 4-1 though? I don't know, man.
Frothing Berserker in this situation is sort of just as good as an execute, but it's also vulnerable, and you might
Get
just
armor
push
up this
damage
way
instead.
too if you choose to execute.
Yeah.
You also get to keep a Frothing Berserker. I think Frothing Berserker is a little bit better than execute in this matchup, I'd say.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a Lonely Ardent Squire in the hand. And I can tell you what card we're looking for here. Well, it's not it, but that can find it.
Yeah. Let's see. Nope.
None of those are Savannah Highmane.
But it fills the... It also... Well, it's not Savannah Hyman, but what it does is it thins out the deck with cards that you may not want later on in this matchup, like Unleash the Hounds, and get you closer to a Call of the Wild.
protects
The problem with this is just a really weak turn.
Such big teeth I have.
It's terrifying. Just the way it sounds.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Grandma. That could spell a trade. These are interesting turns for Janetzky, at least. Like, there's been multiple options basically every single turn, and I'm curious when we're going to see the heat turn up from Janetzky's side. I mean, it still could be this turn. I don't have a problem with literally just Blackwing Corruptor face, attacking for 3 and armoring up. That puts 8 power on board. Your opponent falls to 16, and you have Grom in hand.
Yeah. I'm also thinking, though, how do you lose? And that's by leaving too many minions on the board for Call of the Wild, potentially.
It's definitely a realistic thing. I think
So-
running against a top deck Call of the Wild here is strong still.
Yeah, even though it's only 1 card in his deck, it's still, you know, the card that might
Ooh.
punish the most. Well, Cookshot gets him further.
Could still draw Savannah Highmane.
Stranglethorn Tiger.
Not bad, but this is where Janetzky's kind of forced into being aggressive at this point. Wow. That's strong. That's
yeah.
very strong. know if Grom is I think Grom is worse because of Call of the Wild. Just having the Misha isolate the Grom.
Just 1 minion on board, yeah.
And
Well,
also because of Deadly Shot.
yeah, I think I like going a little bit wider here because also Grom is a great way to deal with Call of the Wild.
Right.
Because it allows you to answer Misha instantly or trade off your board and answer Liak instantly to leave your Grom healthier.
Well, I'm not sure about this.
Maybe he's worried about...
This is the strongest immediate board, but it's a way weaker hand at this stage. Wow.
Not bad.
Still draws Savannah Hyman.
Maybe he doesn't even have high minis in his decks.
No, that's just literally incorrect if that's the case.
Literally.
If you have Barnes and no Savannah Highmane, you're just doing it wrong.
Even Infested Wolf is so good with Barnes.
Anything that summons stuff when it dies is good with Barnes.
Yep. Can't argue with science.
Oh, gosh, the draws. Half of them are good and half of them are bad, and that's not a winning combination versus Dragon Warrior.
Nope. So if that quick shot had gone face, maybe he could try and race.
Shot's face with the Grom and Tiger. No way!
Yes, way.
That would be awful.
You have to recognize your win conditions here.
The win condition is draw anything but a 1-drop.
Well, even if what if he draws like Call of the Wild there?
I think he's totally fine with that. I think he's totally fine with trading off 10 damage on the board. Whoa!
See?
Whoa!
If a quick shot had gone face, he'd be at 8.
Okay, now I am going to say if you're going to attack face,
He'd be at 6.
He may have attacked face because he drew Abusive Sergeant, though. I don't know, man. That's awfully risky. I'm thinking you got to clear the board here. I mean, that's terrifying when someone does that. Is there any 9-point burst from Hunters?
Well, no, but if he leaves the Abusive Sergeant... So my first instinct was Frothing Berserker, Blackwing Corruptor. Yeah, he's got to trade off the Abusive Sergeant because Call of the Wild, if you leave Abusive Sergeant up, Call of the Wild, so a 5 damage Huffer and a 3 damage Abusive Sergeant plus a 2 damage hero power.
So it's Frothing Berserker, Blackwing Corruptor on the Stranglethorn Tiger, trading the 3-2, run Grom over the 2-1, and then have lethal next turn?
Run Grom over the 2-1.
Well, I mean, what does Kolento
Sounds
do?
bad, but he's actually just going to... He might go face this way and armor up.
Yeah, that's totally fine, too.
Yeah.
It
So this way
prevents
still puts him
lethal,
on a
and it
2-turn
deals
clock.
10 damage.
Yeah. Kill command.
It's only for 3.
Poor little guy.
What do we have here, Phil? What do we have here, Phil?
I don't get that reference.
Just kill him. It's like a I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole here. Abusive Sergeant's named Phil, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. It's so funny. Well, this game's over. I think you attack face and Deathwing.
Just in case he has Deadly Shot on the top.
if he gets Deathwing off the top, or if he gets Deadly Shot off the top, then you just play a 9/9.
What?
I guess we're moving for lethal here. Corcoran Elite.
I understand his reasoning. There's no reason not to.
For Blackwing!
It's hard to think of a reason not to. I mean, you could just end the game this turn and not really have to think much of it.
Yeah.
Not dead in the face of a Call of the Wild draw, but instead it's going to be Infested Wolf. Janetzky 3 in a row so far versus Kolento. 1 more to go.
Match point.
And he could be the first open qualifier that makes it to the King match. So far, they've all lost to the invited player.
Yeah, it's been a rough week for those open grinders out there in King of the Hill, but Janetzky's won 3 in a row now, so he's got the momentum on his side. His last deck is Druid, which is one of the most consistent decks in the format, and he has to win against either Hunter or Warrior. Dragon Warrior can be a little bit tough, but I feel like Hunter is a pretty decent matchup. It depends if they have high mains or not.
I think Hunter's a really good matchup for Druid, personally.
Yeah, high main doesn't match up that well in the Ancient of War because you have to have high main plus something else. The only thing is leave stuff around. So if you like curve high main into Call of the Wild, you're good. But
I do want to say that with a caveat, though. I mean, one of the things about it is when Druid was probably at its strongest versus Hunter since the Whispers of the Old Gods meta, it was when Hunters really weren't running Knife Juggler, Unleash the Hounds.
Yeah.
Since then, now we have the addition of Barnes. There's like insane turn 4 potential sometimes for the Hunters. The Knife Juggler, Unleash the Hounds helps you really answer the Violet Teacher turns really well. I mean, there are a lot of stuff is taking place in that matchup. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's good. And he's going to have his work cut out for him because the way you typically beat Druid is by pressuring them, not by responding to their pressure. I mean, responding to their pressure is still very strong, but that requires 2 cards from Kolento. It requires basically just 1 card from Janetzky, which would be Violet Teacher, and then spells afterwards, which is over half the deck.
Yeah. So we'll definitely have to see how that one's going to play out. Janetzky, haven't seen his Druid yet. Kolento's Druid had Arcane Giants. I can imagine Janetzky's does. I can't. It just feels so strong.
Like, what build of Druid are we not running Arcane Giant in right now?
It's just, I know, it's hard
Raven
to see.
Idols, Innervates, Wraths, Living Roots, Swipes. You just keep naming spells that like are in every single Druid
Nourish.
build.
Raven Idols, 2 spells. Wild Growth after 10 mana is 2 spells.
It's really easy to. I mean, Kolento just played it for 6 mana. A 6 mana 8/8 is still pretty good in Druid.
And that's 6 spells, which isn't that unlikely early on in the game. And there's actually cards that you can cut pretty reasonably in the deck. You don't need Feral Rage. You don't need Mire Keepers. I found room for them instantly. A lot of times I struggle over. I'm like, well, I really like this card, but I don't know. This deck seems like really strong. What do I cut? And I'm like, 1 Mire Keeper, Feral Rage.
I
Get
just
out of here.
Scenario, so I was like, yeah, this card sucks.
Oh, yeah. Well, I never had Scenarios in my deck anyway.
Oh, I was playing Scenarios in Nexia. I was playing like the super greedy version. I just
Yeah.
got both of those in the Arcane Giants. Really nice opening hands from both players.
Wow, Barnes 3 times in a row in his opening hand for Kolento. He's 0 for 2 so far with strong Barnes plays. Well,
he's kind of watered down, though. I mean, he's running Stranglethorn Tigers, Abusive Sergeants, Houndmasters.
Knife Juggler's not that good.
Knife Juggler's pretty weak, honestly.
On 4, it's pretty weak.
It's better than nothing, but it's still not very good.
All right.
There's a lot of stuff in there. We're going to lead with turn 1 Fandral for Janetzky.
So strong.
Typically, you don't have 3 options for the 1-of choices.
Turn 1 Fandral, turn 2 Wrath, turn 3 Living Roots into Power of the Wild. Our minds just exploded simultaneously.
It's going to be really hard for Kolento to win this. Just the opening hand from Janetzky is, I think it's just too strong.
It's too powerful.
Oh my.
And that's 3 spells already. This Arcane Giant is already going to be 7 mana.
I mean, you definitely Wrath here.
Maybe he's thinking,
you just said the line. It's Wrath into Living Roots, Power of the Wild. That's the strongest, I think, that the Fandral can get.
he might be worried about Animal Companion, but
Animal Companion's only going to matter here 50% of the time, but the Huge Toad hits.
yeah.
And then only 33% of the time of the Animal Companions. Does that even matter?
Into another Wrath. Let's see. Well, it hits the Fandral, so now Huffer all of a sudden.
So here we go. This is basically 33%. I think he has to try to roll Huffer here. If he lets this live for another turn, he's going to lose the game. We're taking it the slower route, and he's about to get incredibly punished by this. I mean, this probably could not have gone worse for Kolento.
Yeah, he's gonna deal 5 damage to face this turn, summon 2 2/2s and a 4/3.
Oh, it's 6 damage with
6
Power of the
damage.
Wild.
Oh yeah. 6 damage this turn. Summon 2 2/2s and a 4/3, and force Kolento to attack it again the next turn with his fireworks. So it's essentially dealing 10 damage over the course of 2 turns.
It's just too much. Like
way too much.
Hunter doesn't handle this with that explosive trap.
Even if Barnes summons the best minion you could possibly think of in this situation,
Who would be the best man here?
probably High Man. Not a Fiery Bat.
I'm trying to think of just like the best minion against this situation. Abomination?
Abomination, yeah.
It's a lot of damage.
Well, just Power the
Deal
Wild.
12 this turn.
I think you just Power the Wild and
Face. You put Kolento at 2.
maybe Hero Power off the Fire Bat to
No
play
way.
around Houndmaster.
No way. You have so much power on board. Houndmaster doesn't even do anything if you use Power of the Wild. The Fiery Bat dies to all the minions you'd have at play.
Well, also, if you hero power face, you still have a lot of or if you hero power down, you still have a lot of power on the board anyway. The argument still stands. I don't know.
I just don't think it matters either way. I think Janetzky with the Power of the Wild draw is, I mean, it's basically, he was almost 100% as it was. Now I think it's just secured.
It's like, how do I win faster? All right, well.
That's debating on the trade from the 5-4.
Should be the end of the line.
I'm guessing the Fire Bat connect with it. Yeah, I mean, there's no way Kolento's coming back from 3. It's just not possible. There's just, the Hunter cards don't exist that make this happen.
Unleash the Hound. No, tracking into Abusive Sergeant into Unleash the Hounds would be a full clear.
Oh, I mean,
So he needs Abusive Sergeant. Not it.
Well fought.
All right.
wow. What an opener from Janetzky. That is just the nuts. That is one of the best opening Druid hands I've seen in quite a long time, TJ.
Sometimes Druids just win.
Wow.
Every single card besides Arcane Giant that he drew after the Innervate Coin Fangel was a choose one card. Even the Mire Keeper, which he didn't play. Even the second Wrath, which he didn't play. And the other card they draw, like I said, was an Arcane Giant.
Now, I look at that game and I wonder, can Kolento prepare for a hand quite that strong? His game plan was clearly hit Fandral, him not have a strong follow-up, and then be able to clear off Fandral and not really think too much of it.
I would have liked to see Animal Companion.
I think that trying to force there is a better option. You just saw Wrath, so even if you roll Misha, I don't think it's that bad, because then the Fandral, let's say the Fandral becomes a 4/5 and runs over your Misha. It's a 4/1. You Eagle Horn bow it down. You're facing down or facing down a 4/3. If your opponent had a Living Roots to couple with it, which in this case it did, you're facing down now a 4/1, a 4/3, and 2/2s, but you didn't take an extra 3 points of damage, and you still have an Eagle Horn bow in hand. You maybe can top deck Unleash the Hounds after that. I think that going for Animal Companion there is better, because if you kill the Fandral instantly, suddenly your opponent used Fandral and Innervate, and you used Animal Companion and Huge Toad, which is a much more even trade than if you go the other way around.
Eagle Horn Bow, of course, is a better play if you roll Leok, but in those situations, you can't. I feel like you can't afford to not take that risk. But, you know, it is hard to say, but we both instantly lean towards Animal Companion, and our instincts are only wrong like 9 out of every 10 times.
I was going to say 50-50.
Yeah, it's a 50-50, yeah. Our instincts are wrong just about as many times as Barnes gives you a dud.
Either way, Janetzky, what a fantastic set of 4 games afterwards. It goes down 0-2, 4-0 on the way back, and now moving on to face Ostkaka in the finals. This is our first open tournament winner that's made it past this round.
Yeah, but, I mean, Ostkaka has proven to be a incredibly tough opponent coming in and now winning 2 weeks in a row. He's definitely not one. He's a lot of those matches, they've been close at the beginning, but then he just sort of like runs away with it.
He kind of does like the 1-1 dance, the 0-2 dance, and then he's like, he kind of does what you saw Janetzky do in this match, where maybe his first, second game is too strong, but then afterwards it's like, bloop, oh my gosh, he's unbeatable, is what it looks like. So I'm thinking this is going to be a good one. I've liked a lot of what I've seen from Janetzky. I think that being a little bit more aggressive could be a big benefit against a player like Ostkaka, who will put you to the test very often. He's not a player who's afraid to just use his cards and not hold them back. Mm-hmm. He will really go for threat checks and go, you need to have it right now.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it's the massive punish that follows afterwards. So I think if Janetzky's going to have a better chance versus Ostkaka, that being a little bit more aggressive than he was versus Kolento might be right.
All right, well, that match is going to be coming up in just a few moments. It's Janetzky versus Ostkaka in our King match for Hearthstone. Before we do that, we're going to have to go to a little bit of a break, but don't go anywhere, guys. More Hearthstone right after this.